The lights were too bright. Anna stood at the center of the soundstage, her heart pounding inside her chest like a warning drum. Dozens of crew members watched in silence. The camera lens stared at her like an eye with no mercy. The director waited. Behind his monitor, his fingers were clenched. Everyone expected perfection, but all she could feel was silence. The line. What was the line? Anna blinked, mouth slightly open. Her lips parted, but no words came. Nothing, her mind once sharp and graceful with memorized rhythm, was now empty. She stood frozen. This wasn't a small set. This was one of the biggest scenes of the movie, a courtroom confrontation. Everyone knew it had to be perfect. It was her emotional high point in the film. The moment her character finds the courage to speak truth in front of those who once silenced her. It filmed all around it for weeks. And now it was time. But her memory betrayed. The silence grew louder. A sound assistant looked down at his shoes. The costume designer shifted uncomfortably in her chair. Someone whispered. The camera operator adjusted his grip on the handle. Anna swallowed hard and looked down at her trembling hands. The director called out gently, "Anna, whenever you're ready." But she wasn't ready. Her lips trembled. She couldn't even look at the lens anymore. And then she did something she never did. She stepped back, broke frame, and held up one hand. "I'm sorry," she whispered. A few people gasped quietly. The assistant director glanced at the call sheet. This scene had taken hours to prepare. Tension filled the room like fog. But then something strange happened. Movement, soft and slow. From the side of the set, Keanu stepped forward. He wasn't even scheduled to shoot today. His scenes were for next week. But he'd come anyway, just to watch. He'd sat quietly behind the camera, off to the side, legs crossed, hat low over his face. Some crew hadn't even noticed him. Atno knew. He always showed up when no one expected him to. He walked calmly toward her now, not saying anything. Anna's eyes welled up. She turned her face to hide it. Keanu didn't speak. Instead, he placed his hand gently on her shoulder, then looked at the director and held up one finger as if to say, "Give us a moment." The director nodded. Keanu leaned in, his voice low enough that only Anna could hear it. "Do you remember the words about the broken window?" he asked gently. Anna blinked. Slowly, her lips moved. "The one that never got fixed." "Yes," Keanu whispered. "And the reason she never told anyone." Anna nodded, tears forming at the corners of her eyes. "It's not about remembering lines," he said softly. "It's about remembering why." She looked up at him. "I'm scared," she whispered. Keanu gave a small smile. "Then use that. That's what makes it real." Anna took a deep breath. Keanu didn't leave the set. Instead, he walked behind the camera and crouched there, just off frame. No one said a word. They all watched, still and waiting. The director gave a tiny nod, an action. Anna looked up. Something in her had changed. Her voice was soft at first, but then it grew stronger. She began to speak the monologue, eyes wide with emotion. And as she moved into the heart of the scene, her voice shook, but not with fear. With truth. She didn't just say the lines. She lived them. And whenever she hesitated, when her breath caught, or her eyes darted, off camera, Keanu's voice was there. Not loud, not even fully heard. But his lips moved, reminding her of the next word, the next rhythm, the next emotion. It's not controlling her, it's guiding her. At one point, she paused too long. Her lip trembled. Off camera, Keanu whispered, "Tell them about the coat." Anna blinked. Then her voice cracked. "I wore the same coat every day," she said, trembling. And nobody ever noticed. A gasp moved across the crew. The director's eyes widened. Even the sound guy forgot to breathe. Anna kept going. She made it to the end. The last line hit like a wave, then silenced cut. The director stood up slowly. His mouth opened, but he said nothing. Then the crew applauded. Not polite applause, not casual clapping. They stood. They clapped like they'd seen. Something real. Anna stood still, breathing hard, tears on her cheeks. Her knees buckled a little. Keanu rushed forward and caught her before she fell. She buried her face in his chest. "I forgot," she whispered. No, Keanu said. You remembered, but I froze, and still you found your voice. He looked down at her, eyes kind and steady. You don't have to be perfect, Ana, he said. You just have to be present. Someone behind the camera whispered, That's going. In the trailer, the director laughed, wiping his eyes from that day on. Word spread. Not about a mistake, but about a moment. People didn't talk about Ana forgetting her lines. They talked about Keanu being there, whispering them behind. The camera, not for fame. It's not for credit, just for her. The video leaked 2 days later, not the footage from the film, not the scene itself. It's just a 15-second clip, shot secretly by a crew member on their phone. It showed Ana trembling in front of the camera, then Keanu slowly crouching behind, the lens whispering something only she could hear. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, soft, human, and the internet lost its mind. On TikTok, the clip got 6 million views in one night. People started calling it the whisper moment. On Twitter, fans wrote things like, That's what support looks like, and he didn't take the stage, he gave it back to her. Ana didn't post anything at first, neither did Keanu. But the next morning, she showed up to set with something different in her. Now, not louder, not tougher, just steadier. As if something had finally cracked open, and instead of falling apart, she'd grown into it. They were filming a rooftop scene the day Ana's character walking away from the man she loved. It was windy, cables snapped, sun kept hiding. Behind clouds, the director pulled Keanu aside. She seems different today, he said. Keanu just smiled. She's not trying to be perfect anymore. Ana stood on the rooftop ledge in her costume, coat whipping behind her. She was ready, not rushed, not panicked, just still. When the scene began, she didn't hesitate, and when it ended, the director didn't yell cut. He whispered it. Later that week, they were shooting night scenes in downtown Los Angeles. Everything was blocked off, cameras on cranes, extras walking back and forth in choreographed loops. The energy was tense. Long days, longer nights. People were tired. Ana sat alone on a folding chair between takes. Her hands were covered in fake blood, her hair messy from the last scene. She stared at a paper cup of tea in her hand, but didn't sip it. Keanu walked over and sat beside her. She didn't speak, neither did he. Minutes passed finally. She said quietly, You didn't have to do that for me. He looked at her. It didn't have to, he said. I wanted to, but it made people talk. So, some say I only got through the scene because of you. He smiled gently. Maybe, or maybe. You just needed a voice to remind you of your own. Ana looked down at the cup again. I was embarrassed, she whispered. I'd rehearsed that monologue every night for a month. In front of everyone, I choked. Keanu leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Do you want to know what I think? He asked. She nodded. You didn't choke. You hesitated. And that moment, that pause made the truth stronger. She blinked. What do you mean? We spent our whole lives trying to hide the cracks, Keanu said. But sometimes it's the cracks that let the light in. Ana looked at him. For a long time, then nodded. They shot until 3 a.m. Ana nailed every take. No stumbles. No forgotten lines. But when the final shot wrapped, she didn't cheer like the others. She went to Keanu and whispered, I don't want to be just remembered for the whisper moment. Keanu put his hand over his heart. You won't be, he said. You'll be remembered for what you did after it. The next morning, the director made an announcement on set. Everyone, he called out, we've added a new scene. People looked up from their coffees. A flashback scene. He continued. Ana's character is a young girl, walking into a school office, trying to report the abuse, but forgetting her words. We'll shoot it in 2 days. The writer nodded beside him. Right. It wasn't in the original script, he said. But after watching Ana last week, we realized we needed to show where her silence started. Ana felt her chest tighten. It was her idea. She had emailed the writer in the middle of the night, suggesting it. She said the story needed to show why the courtroom speech meant so much, why the silence mattered, why the voice had power. Keanu looked at her from across the set and gave her a small nod. She smiled back, his eyes glassy. The flashback scene was shot with a child actress. Anna stood behind the monitor the whole time, watching the little girl fidget. In her school chair, lips trembling as she stared at the fake principal, the girl forgot her line. For just a second, and from behind the camera, Anna whispered it softly. Kindly, the little girl heard it. Then said the words out loud, "Cut." No one clapped. They just stood in quiet respect. Later, as everyone packed up, Keanu walked past the child actress and handed her a folded piece of paper. She opened it. Inside was one sentence, handwritten. "You forget the words, remember the reason." Online, the buzz kept growing. Editors were calling the footage career-defining. Reviewers were saying the film had an unexpected emotional core. Fans started creating art sketches of Anna and Keanu behind the camera, side by side. But Anna didn't post about it instead. She posted a black and white photo of her hands, one holding a crumpled script, the other holding a small note that read, "I see you," no caption, just that. And that was the day hashtag as EEYOU began trending. Not as a meme, as a movement. Anna stood in front of the mirror in her trailer. Not for makeup, not for costume. She was just looking at her own eyes, at the woman she was becoming. Outside, the sun was barely rising. The lot was still quiet. Coffee carts hadn't even arrived. But she was already dressed and ready for a scene that wasn't even scheduled that day because something had changed. Not just in her career, in her, and the strange part was, it started the moment she forgot. The day she froze. The day Keanu whispered from behind the camera, that was the day she learned something most actors never admit sometimes. The most powerful moments aren't the ones you perform. They're the ones you survive, Anna, said the director, knocking gently. Got a minute? She opened the door. He held a thick folder.
Screenings.
The studio's watching closely, he said. This scene you added, the one with the young girl, is testing higher than anything else in the film? Anna looked surprised. People are calling it real, he said.
Oh.
Vulnerable. They're saying it feels like you. Manas stared. At the folder in silence, he continued, the studio wants to expand the story arc. More of the character's early trauma. They even offered to bring in a second editor to sharpen the emotional pacing. She looked up. But only, he said, if you approve. Anna took a breath. I want to keep it quiet, she said. Quiet, not loud, not overdone. Just true. Like how it really feels when you're afraid to speak. He nodded slowly. Then said something she didn't expect. Keanu said you'd say that.
Afternoon.
Keanu arrived on set with something unusual. A small wooden box. He gave it to Anna without a word. She opened it carefully. Inside was a small, folded paper. It looked old, fragile, like something kept for decades. When she opened it, she saw faded ink and slightly smudged letters. It was a monologue, not from their film. It's from something else. A school play? What is this? Anna asked. Keanu gave a soft smile. My first scene. Age 13. I forgot every word. She looked down at the paper again. I kept this to remind myself, he said, that fear never really leaves. You just learn how to stand with it. Anna held the paper against her chest for a moment, then whispered, thank you. Night, Anna found herself walking past the extras tent. She saw one of the background actors sitting alone, shaking his head, script in hand. A young guy, maybe 19, sweating, muttering lines under his breath. Panicked, she sat beside him. Quietly, he jumped. Sorry, he said, embarrassed. I'm just trying not to mess this up. Anna tilted her head. Big scene, he nodded. I have one line, just one, but I keep blanking when the camera's on me. Anna reached into her pocket, pulled out a piece of paper. Not the monologue. From Keanu, but her own note. She had copied his idea earlier that day. This one was fresh, clean. She handed it to him. It said, your voice doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be yours. The young actor stared at it, then looked up, tears in his eyes. You'll be fine, Anna said softly. Trust the silence before the line. That's where truth hides. Across the lot, Keanu watched. He said nothing. But His smile reached all the way to his eyes. A week later, Anna and Keanu were invited to a small film school for a Q&A. Just 30 students. No cameras, no press. Just chairs and questions. One girl raised her hand. She was nervous, glasses fogged up, voice shaking. How do you handle the pressure when everyone expects you to be perfect? Anna looked at her gently, then said, You. Remember, you're not here to be perfect. You're here to feel, Keanu added, and to listen. To yourself. To the silence. To the space between, another student asked. What do you do when you mess up? Keanu leaned forward, you whisper. He said, and if you're lucky, someone whispers back. The room fell silent. Then someone clapped, and the rest followed. Outside, after the event, Anna sat on the campus steps, head tilted toward the stars. Keanu sat beside her. You ever think, she said quietly, that maybe we're not just actors? He smiled. What else would we be? She looked at him. Anchors, she said, for each other. Keanu nodded, double quotes. I like that. But not everyone liked the attention they were getting. Someone from the studio called Anna the next day. You're becoming the face of this film, the voice said. But some executives are worried. You're reshaping the story. Adding scenes, influencing young actors. They say you're making it about emotion instead of spectacle. Na's hand tightened on the phone. Isn't that the point? She asked softly. They just want to be careful. You've had a moment, Anna. Don't push too far. She hung up and sat in silence. For a long time. Then she picked up a pen and wrote 3 words on a sticky note. It still matters. She stuck it to her trailer mirror. Keanu knocked. On her door a few hours later, he didn't even say hello, just handed her a manila envelope. What's this? She asked. Backup, he said. Inside was a signed letter. It said, if Anna leaves this film, I leave with her. Her hand trembled. They don't get to choose the story, he said. The truth chooses the story. Anna looked up at him. Her voice cracked. I thought I was alone. You're not, Keanu said. You never were. The studio pushed back. The head of marketing flew down to the set. His suit was stiff, his voice careful, his eyes constantly flicking between people. He didn't talk about feelings. He talked about pacing, runtime, overseas, audience testing, people. Want excitement? He said. Not breakdowns, not quiet courtroom scenes. We need to trim the flashbacks, tighten the ending. You understand, right? Anna sat across from him in a folding chair. She didn't nod, didn't frown, just listened. Keanu sat beside her. When the man finished, Keanu asked calmly, Have you seen her scene? I've seen the dailies, the man replied. Then you haven't seen her? Anna placed her hands in her lap. This isn't just a performance, she said softly. It's something people are living through every day. The man leaned forward. Anna, I'm not questioning your talent. I'm just saying this isn't personal. Keanu's voice cut through the room, low and steady. It is to her. Silence. The man stood up. We'll revisit the discussion after test screening too. Then he walked out. Later that night, Anna sat in her trailer alone. The envelope with Keanu's letter lay on her table. She stared at it, then picked up her phone and called her mother. Mama. She said, voice quiet, do you remember when I was 13 and I lost that audition? I remember, her mother said gently. I cried all night. And you told me maybe that role wasn't meant for me. Yes, but this one. This is. Her mother didn't respond for a few seconds, then said, then don't let them take it away. The next morning, Anna showed up early again, before the crew, before the lights. She sat at the courtroom set in silence, feeling the wooden bench beneath her, staring at the empty chairs where fake jurors would soon sit. The silence wasn't heavy anymore, it was familiar. When the crew arrived, Keanu found her sitting there. She didn't look at him, just said, I'm not afraid anymore. Keanu smiled softly. Good, but I'm still angry. Good, he repeated. That means you care. She looked at him. What if the studio cuts everything that matters? Keanu knelt beside her. Then we make them remember why it mattered in the first place. Test screening to dot a small theater in Westwood. Studio execs sat in the back row, notebooks open, eyes sharp, watching every minute, waiting to see if the crowd laughed at the right time. Gasped when expected. Cried when told they didn't. They cried earlier in the news scene, the one where Anna's character breaks down outside a school building, unable to say the word abuse. Unable to speak at all, a woman in the third row sobbed into her sleeve. A man next to her took off his glasses and wiped his face. When the lights came up, no one clapped. Not because they didn't like it, but because they didn't know how to come back from what they just saw. Afterward, the studio head called Keanu privately. "We admit it," the man said. "She proved us wrong." Keanu said nothing, but that doesn't mean we're fully behind it. Why not? Because it's not marketable in a flashy way. Keanu leaned in. Then maybe flashy isn't the goal. Anna didn't hear any of this. She was in the parking lot, leaning against her car, eyes closed. When Keanu came out, he didn't speak, just held out his phone. A new video was trending, a reaction clip, a teenage girl watching Anna's scene at first. She looked bored, skeptical, but then her face started to change, and when Anna's character whispered, "I tried to tell someone," but no one listened, the girl on the screen burst into tears and covered her mouth. The video ended. Anna stared at it. "I know her," she whispered. "You do?" Keanu asked Dodd. Anna shook her head. "Not really, but I know her." That night, Anna sat in her apartment, staring out the window below. The city buzzed, but her room was silent until her phone lit up. An email subject line. "A moment of Honestemmis. I watched your scene. I never told anyone what happened to me, until tonight. I told my sister. She cried too. Thank you. You gave me words when I had none." Anna read it 3 times, then pressed her palm to her heart. A few days later, on set, something unexpected happened. One of the crew members, a quiet camera assistant named Eric, came up to Anna while she was sipping coffee. "Can I show you something?" He asked. She nodded. He pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. It was a folded napkin. On it was written, "Use your fear. It means you're alive." "I found it in my backpack," he said. "You left it there last week." Anna blinked. "Didn't mean to. It helped me," he said. "I gave it to my niece. She has stage fright." Anna smiled, and for the first time in weeks, she laughed. But not everything was quiet joy. A gossip site published a headline. Anna's tears were real, but was it acting or breakdown? Read, Keanu babysits co-star through tough shoots, some crew not impressed. Anna's hands trembled as she read them. Keanu walked in, holding 2 coffees. He saw the look on her face. "You okay?" he asked. She handed him the phone. He read the headline, then handed it back. "They think whispering is weakness," he said. Anna looked up, "But they don't know." Keanu continued that sometimes a whisper can be louder than a scream. At night, she walked onto set for her final scene. No one knew what to expect. The crew was quiet, the lights dim. The set had been stripped down to just 1 chair, 1 light, 1 camera, the director said, "Whenever you're ready." Anna took a breath, closed her eyes, and said softly, "This is not a performance. This is a memory." Then she began, not acting, remembering, and everyone listened. The next day, nobody said much. Not because the scene wasn't good, but because it had taken something out of everyone. Even the sound tech cried. Even the security guard who never watched scenes stood by the door, arms crossed, blinking too fast. Anna's final monologue had landed like a quiet explosion. No music, no cuts, no tricks, just her voice, her truth, her whisper. And after cut, no one clapped, no one moved, until Keanu walked over and placed his hand on her shoulder and said, "You told your story?" Anna turned to him, still breathing hard. "Was it too much?" she asked. Keanu shook his head. It was enough. That evening, something unusual happened on set. The director called everyone in cast, crew, even catering. He stood in front of them with a microphone in one hand and a folded piece of paper in the other. "I've been directing for 23 years," he said. "I've worked with amazing people. But this film, Something happened here. Something more than scenes, more than scripts. He paused, looked toward Anna, then toward Keanu. I watched one of you forget your lines. His voice cracked a little. You reminded all of us. The most powerful stories aren't just told on camera, they're lived between takes. He handed the mic to Anna at first. She stepped back, but then she took it. Her fingers trembled slightly. She looked at everyone. Then at Keanu. I used to think the worst thing that could happen was freezing, she said. But the truth is, sometimes you need to freeze. Because that's the moment you stop pretending and start feeling. And so if you ever forget your line, she said, don't panic. Pause. Listen. Maybe the words are just waiting to be remembered. She handed the mic back and stepped off the stage. The next week, the trailer dropped. Anna's final line was in it not a loud moment, not a dramatic scream, just her saying softly they didn't see me, till I showed them the silence. The internet stopped for real. Within 6 hours, the trailer passed 5 million views. Fans shared their own stories. People posted videos crying. Others simply wrote, I see you. And just like that, the hashtag came back. Hashtag is EEYOU-onset. Anna received flowers, no card, just one sentence on the ribbon. I remembered too late, but I see you now. Keanu said. It was probably from someone who didn't know how to say sorry. Anna nodded. Maybe that's why we make movies. To help them find the words? No, she said. To show them they're not alone even when they can't speak. But behind the beauty, something darker started brewing. An email leaked, a studio exec complaining about the film's emotional tone, calling it too soft, too quiet, not commercially bold. Worried about overdependence on whispery performances. Keanu read the email aloud in the production office. When he got to the phrase whispery performances, he laughed. But Anna didn't. She looked hurt. I thought we were changing something. She said we are, he replied. But change is slow and scary, especially for the ones holding the old rules. Anna sat down, then said something she'd never said before. What if I'm not strong enough to push through all this? Keanu sat beside her, his voice low. Then let me whisper for you until you remember again. 2 days later, a surprise screening was held for trauma counselors and therapists. They were invited by a quiet intern on set who'd grown up in shelters and knew how stories could become survival. The room was full. Anna and Keanu sat in the back. When the film ended, there was no standing ovation, just silence, and then one by one, the therapists walked to the front, not to speak on stage, but to hug Anna. Every single one. No words, just presence and tears. A letter arrived the next morning, signed by 50 counselors. Thank you for making space for the unheard. Anna cried when she read it. She hadn't cried in days. Keanu found her outside, barefoot in the grass, holding the letter in both hands. You okay? He asked. I don't know what's happening, she whispered. This is more than a film. Keanu nodded. It always was. Final week of filming began. The pressure returned. The studio sent more notes. Cut this. Trim that. Make the ending cleaner. But Anna and Keanu stood firm, and the director backed them, he told the studio. On the last day of filming, Anna brought something with her, a blank notebook. She passed it around the crew and asked everyone to write down one moment they remembered most from the shoot. Not the best scene, not the funniest day, just the realest moment by rap. The notebook was full, quotes, drawings, tears. One line stood out, written in shaky handwriting by a young grip assistant. I thought I was invisible until someone asked me how I was doing. Anna closed the notebook and held it tight. When the final shot wrapped and the lights turned off, Anna stood center stage. Everyone waited. She didn't give a speech. She just looked around and whispered, "Thank you for seeing me." The film premiered on a quiet Sunday. No red carpet, no flashing cameras. Just a private showing in a small theater with velvet seats and worn armrests. Anna sat in the back row, Wearing a soft hoodie pulled over her head, Keanu sat beside her. The room filled, slowly survivors, support workers, teachers, single parents, quiet kids with shy eyes, people who didn't always get invited to premieres. This was their screening. The lights dimmed, the screen lit up, and for 2 hours, no one moved. Anna watched herself on screen, heart pounding. Not because she was worried about the performance, but because she knew what was coming. The moment she forgot was her lines, the scene they'd chosen to leave uncut, the whisper, and it came. Keanu's off-camera voice, barely heard. Guiding her through the silence, the theater didn't gasp. It breathed as if holding its chest tight in recognition. After the credits rolled, no one stood, until Anna did. She turned toward them, pulled her hood down, and said quietly, "This story started when I froze." The room listened, and I thought that moment would break me. She looked at Keanu. But someone reminded me it's okay to pause. It's okay to not know. It's okay to whisper. Someone near the front began to cry. A man in his 50s. Stood up, voice trembling. "Haven't spoken to my sister in 15 years. But I will tonight." A girl in the second row whispered, "Thank you." Through tears, Anna stepped down from the back and walked among them. She didn't sign autographs. She hugged. She listened. She whispered back that week. The full version of the film was released worldwide. No cuts, no changes, just truth, and something strange happened. People stopped using the word performance when talking about Anna. They started saying, "Presents, the film didn't break box office. Records, but it broke something else. It broke open a silence. In homes, in schools, in schools." In Heart's interviews followed. Magazines wanted the full story. "How did it feel when you forgot the line?" One host asked. Anna smiled. "It felt like drowning." "And how did you recover?" She looked off camera. "I didn't." Keanu, off to the side, raised one brow. Anna continued. Someone else whispered, "I remembered how to swim." My month. Later, Anna was asked to speak at a small acting school. She stood in front of a group of students. No cameras, no press, just nervous eyes and fidgeting fingers. "I want to show you something," she said. She picked up a stack of cue cards and, one by one, dropped them to the floor. The students looked confused. "You don't need these," she said softly. "Not if you know why your character feels something. The line will come, and if it doesn't breathe, someone will whisper." One boy raised his hand. "What if no one does?" Anna smiled sadly, then whispered to yourself, "You've got to be your first kindness." Keanu joined her on stage afterward. A student asked him, "How did you know what to say when she froze?" He paused for a long time, then said, "I didn't." The student looked confused. Keanu added, "I didn't know the right words. I just knew I had to be there." Anna touched his arm gently. And sometimes she said being there is the word. That evening, they sat in a quiet cafe on the edge of the city. No fans, no flashes, just soft music and the sound of spoons and tack-ups. Then whispered, "Do you ever wonder? Do you ever wonder? What would have happened if I didn't forget that line?" Keanu nodded. "I do," and smiled. "We wouldn't be here." She laughed softly. Funny how failure feels like the end, but it turns out to be a doorway. Keanu held up his cup to the doorway. Anna tapped hers against his. "To the whisper," she said. Months later, a new viral video surfaced. Young actress froze during a live reading. The room went silent until another actor, sitting just off stage, leaned in and whispered the line gently into her ear. She blinked, nodded, and continued the scene. People commented below the video, "This feels familiar. The whisper lives on." "I see you." Anna kept the notebook from set. She wrote new names in it now. People who reached out, people who whispered back. It wasn't just a book. It was a legacy. And on the very last page, it's in her own handwriting, she wrote, "We are not perfect. We are not polished. We are not always ready, but we are here is enough. The film won awards later that year, but Anna never mentioned the trophies. In interviews, she talked about moments, about silence, about presence, and about the time. She forgot everything, except kindness.